Hey everybody, we're back with another movie spoiler review, and today I'm covering Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I saw a couple of days ago. Excuse me. So, uh, yeah. Uh, well, I usually hate to say this, uh, but this is one of those moments where I came in with low expectations. Not that the film was bad by any means, because I did review the first Shazam movie last Christmas for my Christmas themed movie review last December, and knowing that this was gonna be like the first DC movie coming out in the new year, so I want to make sure to get the first one, uh, out beforehand. And this movie picks up a couple of years after those events. Now, the reason I had low expectations because it's like all the while that I'm going through this movie, while I'm enjoying what I'm watching for the most part, all I'm thinking is about, and it's like it's not nobody's fault. It's just that the investment is like only kind of there, because I know that James Gunn's, once the Flashpoint movie comes out in a few months, well, not necessarily they'll get rid of the people involved with Shazam, but it's just like, oh, this little adventure is going to remain kind of pointless, because Flashpoint, by and large, if you know the story or even remotely familiar with it, is basically completely wiping the slate clean of a lot of DC related stuff to make way to build something new, essentially like a fresh restart. And with that in mind, like, I just, it's gonna be the same way where I feel about like Aquaman 2 when that come out later in the year. It's like I'm pretty sure they'll still be in the whole James Gunn new DC canonized universe, but it's just like this adventure with Shazam and Aquaman is already put in place before the change of the guard. Not that it's still gonna be anywhere remotely tied to the Snyderverse anymore, but because like you can say like, okay, the Adventures of Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2 will still count in James Gunn's world, but it's just that, I don't know, it's just they can easily weave it into it, but it's like, if I would have felt a little bit better about it personally if Flashpoint would have came out already, at least some point maybe last year, before these other two movies comes out, so that way it's just kind of, at least I imagine, even for the casual, especially for the casual moviegoer, to go and see these movies that are not familiar that much, if at all, with the comic book stuff, it's just in their mind's eye, okay, moving forward, Shazam 2 counts wherever he's going on with it. It still means stuff. Whatever's going on with Aquaman 2, wherever his adventure will be, will still mean stuff. If it all set prior to the Flashpoint movie, then how can it mean anything in the grand scheme of things? That's all. Personally, that's all I'm thinking about, and I feel kind of bad because it's like, it's like, people involved worked hard on it, and it's just that all that just kind of remain like, that's like, all this danger and stuff like that, like whoever might die, or anybody lost something or whatever, it's all gonna mean like, it's like, whatever, like, how can I feel invested if this person lost a loved one, or this person lost this, or you know, somebody got mind wiped or something. It's kind of like the whole Loki thing when he's going over with Mobius about like how Sylvie hiding out in an apocalypse situation because wherever she does will mean nothing, so it's no branch because it's gonna be wiped slate. The slate gonna be wiped clean anyway, so it's like it doesn't even matter. It's like I just picture Loki in Pompeii. It doesn't matter. That's how I'm viewing it. It doesn't matter, and it feels kind of like a shame. But anyway, we'll get right into the cast. Of course, we got Zachary Levi returning, and Asher Angel returning as Billy Bats and Shazam. Jack Dylan Grazer as Adam Brody and Freddie Freeman. Adam Brody and Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman, and it's been like a play on joke, because they try to figure out like their like superhero name, and of course, if you all familiar with Captain Marvel's history, Freddie Freeman is Captain Marvel Jr., and he's kind of joking about how like he's Mr. Everything Jr. kind of thing. We got Rachel Zegler as Athena, not Athena, Athea, Dara Alice. Grace Caroline Curry as Mary Bromfield, aka Miss Marvel. And I was not concerned, but it's like because Grace Curry, it's like, did they get somebody else to play her adult version for Miss Marvel? Because like she's already technically an adult, because it's like kids growing up into adults, but no, just keep the same adult form, just she's already kind of fit, but it's like Ross Butler as Ian, and Ian Chen as Eugene Choi, another of the Captain Marvel clan. You got DJ Catrona and Jonathan Armand as Pedro Pena. Because they got Megan Good and Faith Herman playing as Darla Dudley. We got Lucy Liu as Calypso, Jamon Hanzu as Shazam the Wizard, and Helen Mirren as Hespera, another daughter. So these events takes place a couple of years after the first adventure with Shazam, and it's kind of noticeable is that Asher Angel has like what 15 minutes of screen time, if that, throughout this whole entire film, because we spend like a considerable amount of time in Zachary Levi's Shazam form, which is not a big deal. Like they both play their parts very well, but it's just like you'll think the time will be split evenly amongst them, but we have an extended amount of time with Zachary Levi form. Also, it's kind of noticeable, and a lot of people tend to have that kind of same line of thinking. It's just, Asher Angel's Billy Batson is, getting close. It's like they always make a very point that he's a few months away from turning 18, and that's, you know, Billy's, you know, concern for most of the film is that, you know, he might be losing his adoptive family because he might be aging out of the foster care system, and the funds will eventually stop coming in, and like everybody's doing their own thing, and he's desperately trying to keep everybody together, even though they all are growing up and they all have their own separate interests. And even like Mary pointed that out, because they all, I mean, she's already pretty smart, but you know, the whole wisdom of Solomon situation is like, she hit him with like, you know, just because like, you know, I'm looking into like colleges or going out drinking with some friends doesn't mean that you'll lose us as a family. We'll always still be here. Because he's, and you see him, which you don't see that often. It's like very few times you see in like, you know, superhero related content. Like you see that with I think it's Winter Soldier and Billy's the only two live action superheroes that I can think of right now that actually sat down with therapists to talk about their, you know, grievances, because we don't see all that often. I kind of really want to see more of that, because it'd be like kind of like very insightful. Even though the guy he talked to earlier in the beginning of the film, he's like a pediatrician, but you know, I guess got enough like a, you know, with a doctorate to like offer some bit of wisdom, not A+ material because it's not his field, but enough to like express that, you know, I guess in abandonment issues, which is understandable. Like his father, you know, wasn't around when he was born. His mother abandoned him in like an amusement park, and he's bouncing from foster care to foster care until he found like a good family with his adoptive parents and siblings. And now he's afraid of, like, you know, it's probably his biggest fear, losing that. I'm pretty sure there's psychologists and therapists out there who can, like, you know, can probably speak on that more so than I, but it's a lot to that, and I'd be interested in hearing their thoughts on that particular scene. Excuse me. So, like I said, I want to see more of that, because yeah, it's a lot to talk about. Anyway, so as Angel's 18-year-old phone, he's like 17. The way Asher is playing Billy now compared to when he did it in the first film, there's a certain, you know, distinct growth that you can pretty much tell. The kid's, you know, it's like you can tell the kid's probably working on, you know, like I noticed in like the third act when he's speaking with his foster mom, and it's like the way he was standing, where you kind of know it's like some definition in his biceps. It's like, yeah, the dude's growing up. He's not a little squirting kid no more. And it's like there's a bit of like, because when you get to 18, you know, there's a significant changes in attitude and swagger. Excuse me, sorry. It changes of attitude and swagger. That I like, because, you know, it's vast different change. There's a jump in, there's a significant jump in time, and of course there's got to be growth. But Zachary Levi, it's, I don't know, you know what, because the director who's the director in his David F. Sandberg. I'm pretty sure he directed the last one. Yeah, he directed the last one, and it's like, what instructions were you given to Zachary Levi, or at least didn't offer some bit of wisdom of Solomon yourself, and say, because Zachary Levi is still portraying Billy like he was at that age in the first film, because that would have lined up. It doesn't line up anymore because the kid clearly, like, we all been 18, or if you're currently 18, you carry yourself in a different way than you did when you was like 16, 15, or 14. uh he's, reaching that point of going from teen into adult. He's going, just right at that edge. And I wanted to see that, and I think a lot of people wanted to see that portrayed in Zachary Levi's form, because he's still kind of treating like he's, 15, and it's like it doesn't correlate. That's one knock I got against, at least maybe not the film as a whole, but Zach's performance in that, because it's like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, sure, he's still immature, but that should be minimized just slightly, considering the circumstances this kid and his family are in with the superhero world. It's kind of like, I'm kind of equate it to something like, if you watch the old Teen Titans cartoon, like something like, Dick Grayson, Robin, or Cyborg, because they have their moments of goofy immaturity too, but when they need to take something serious, they, they take it, a moment seriously, because they will be that age, around that age, if not slightly older too. I should be seeing that with Zachary Levi's performance. Like, yeah, I could be a goofball, but it's like, while I'm talking with Helen Mirren's character, I should be like, like cracking jokes here and there, but it's like, I got you pegged kind of situation. Anyway, so you get to see the Shazam family doing that thing, saving this bridge from collapsing. Don't even know how that is even freaking possible. Maybe the infrastructure is just old, whatever. But speaking of like performances, the adult versions of the other Shazam family seems to be a little bit more aligned, especially like something like Darla, where you got Megan Good's character still behaving like that little girl would behave in terms of mannerisms. Although, that being said, the little girl actress of Darla, there are times I think it's kind of not grating, but it's just like, there's a moment where it's kind of in the third act with like it's like the most over heavy handed product placement I've ever seen in a film with Skittles. We'll get to that soon, but it's like they cut off, the curse word, but she like, taste the rainbow, mother, and like she cuts off, and it's like, it's kind of like, it's like, because trying to attract some unicorns with Skittles, and it's like, they're nice. They're just like that. The whole useful optimism is kind of like, not that you need to slap the kid with some reality or anything like that. You got, preserve that innocence and the youth and everything like that. But sometimes it seems like, oh, she's cute and spunky little girl that should not have things, that innocence stomped on ridiculously. But there's a certain degree where it's like, okay, you don't want to crush this innocence in this girl, but at the same time, you don't want just things to work out for her because she's so sweet and innocent. It's like, you gotta find a middle ground. I wasn't feeling that from this girl's performance. It's like, oh, I'm a cutesy, dorky girl that's got all this abundance of innocence, and things just work out for me because I'm cute. And it's like, ugh, God, it's kind of grating. It worked fine in the first film because we were just establishing the character. But at this point, because you can tell she's a couple of years older here as well, where she's kind of like, you know, not get completely out of the phase, but you know, starting to reach that point where she's not a little girl anymore, and things that appeal to her should slowly lose interest, and she into like some other stuff that would be her age. I wouldn't know, but it's got to be something. It's kind of like little girls stop getting to dollies and get into other interests like boy bands. I don't know. Anyway, Billy is trying to be like the de facto leader, even though he kind of defers to Mary a lot because she's the older one and with a little bit more maturity and knowledge. But he's trying to be the de facto leader, trying to have these group sessions to go by, you know, play by plays, because even though they save a bunch of people, they couldn't save the bridge as a whole. And they try, oh, what can we do better, guys? And going over these PowerPoints and everything like that. Of course, Eugene's just want to map out the Rock of Eternity and all these different doors. Speaking of which, I want to talk about this now while I'm thinking about it. For a year, there's been, because there's a supporting character of the Shazam family called Talkie Tawny, something like that, where there's talking tiger, and it's supposed to have been voiced by Sinbad. And of course, you know, last year Sinbad was, I think he had a stroke or something like that. He's going through recovery and everything like that. But I thought at some point he was supposed to be showing up as this talking tiger. Maybe it was just a big rumor speculation, but it was heavily put out there, and people was just running with it. I can't recall if Sinbad ever confirmed that, but everybody was just really leaning hard into it. That's what I was waiting on, this talking tiger that was set up. Definitely set it up with this tiger stuffed animal that Billy gives to the scared little girl in the last film. And it's okay, where's this tiger? And no tiger ever shown up. But he wanted to map out through all these doors and everything like that, and what's in it with the notes, which it kind of is very smart, because I don't know why the wizard never left markers or signs or something like that to indicate which door. These got random doors with no signs to let you know, okay, don't go through this one. There's a dog spider thing. One of them it really stuck out in my mind. It's he had a sticky note. It's dog spider area, don't go in. Or it's slime room, don't go in. And it's all this other stuff. So that was pretty doggone smart. They decorated the Rock of Eternity with all these kind of streamers, and they colored things with colored chalk you see on sidewalks and stuff like that. They got they decorated the 7 deadly sin statues. It's a goofy kids hideaway. It's kind of what you kind of expect, they would with a treehouse or something. I kind of like it because it's to be expected with a group of kids. Of course, you got Pedro, and it's all right. I want to just, get it out there while I'm thinking about it here. Pedro is a homosexual individual, and of course, I don't know if they really lean into it in the comics like that, but it's been from what my understanding is, has been a thing with this guy. And of course they touched on it in the last film, but here it's like he's watching sports, baseball, and he's focused on this one individual dude, and that's all he wants to do is just watch baseball for this one particular attractive dude. And is in the third act when he's coming clean about their identities, he's like he just blurts out like like I'm gay, and everybody's like everybody just turned to him. It was like oh, we know, buddy. It's kind of the same thing what they did with in Green Arrow TV show when Green Arrow's son comes out to his father, and it's like, I know, buddy, I just want to make sure I'll wait until your time to say it, which is respectable and I imagine realistic. I don't know. I was about to say it's like kind of like a cliche, but not really, because I imagine there's moments like that where it's like, because I don't know, it probably would have helped if, because they kind of up to this point they kind of played it like they was kind of oblivious to the fact that he was really eyeing that that baseball player a little hard. But what I would have done writing wise, maybe they had like people from the LGBTQ plus community in the writers room, at least a couple of them would have written it this way. But what I would have done is have like certain maybe looks or some kind of like subtle hints that like the parents know, or Mary would like knows, like like maybe we should go like see this guy in person, or like maybe we should go to this particular store, or it's like go shopping, or like these kind of like drop some kind of hints, like they kind of know, but we kind of like, okay, I was gonna let you wait until you're ready, but it's like I just want to drop hints that like I know, like I'm okay and things like that. I don't know, but they kind of like, oh, we know, buddy, and it's like we already knew. It's like we're just waiting for your time. It kind of situations. It's sweet overall, but it just kind of like with like it's like because they're trying to play like, oh, like we always know. You didn't kind of left it like it, like you're oblivious, which is like if you knew, kind of like drop hints. I don't know. Anyway, like, but I love Mary Marvel in this. She's probably my favorite character, or because I love the way she carries herself with like the grace and maturity and layers to her, because she goes out drinking because she's an adult and she wants to hang out with people her age instead of just her siblings. And I love the way she's just like in the Rocket Attorney in her superhero form, which if you know things like Flash or She-Hulk, when you have like superhero stamina, it shouldn't affect, you don't get your hangovers like you would in your normal form. And she's in there with like a huge hangover right now and like with sunglasses on, and it's like I don't know, it's like why is that affecting you in your superhero form when you have like things like stamina, where and like I won't say healing, but it's like it's kind of like with like Wolverine and Deadpool, they cannot get drunk because things that affects their biology that would cause drunkenness doesn't affect them, so they can drink as much as they want and they don't get liquor poisoning or anything like that. Of course, I'm pretty sure she didn't go to this party as Mary Marvel, but as she's drinking and everything like that, once he turns into Mary Marvel, she should be right as rain immediately, kind of like with She-Hulk. It's like as soon as she in her She-Hulk form, she doesn't get affected by alcohol the same way anymore. but like it'd be kind of funny if she goes back to her regular form and that all that alcohol hits her all at once immediately. That'd be kind of funny. I kind of wish they kind of played it that way, because that's me with my comic book knowledge and stuff like that. It's like, you know, with your superhero stamina, alcohol doesn't affect you the same way as your normal form. Anyway, but I kind of like that. That was probably my favorite. It's good, you know. I love that for some reason, but I just love Mary Marvel out of this entire film. So anyway, and the kudos to, like, even though, like, you know, Shazam is kind of like a family film, there's certain bites that kind of leans in. It's kind of like 80s movies back in the day, where it's things that you watched as a kid that technically shouldn't have been played for kids, had like a certain edge to them. Like in that, you know, boardroom scene where like all those 7 deadly sins murder a bunch of people, even though you don't get to see it, you are heavily you know, privy to that knowledge. You get the kind of same thing here, where you got Calypso and Lucy Liu and Hesper, Helen Mirren, come in dressed in like, you know, Greek soldiers. Not sure how they just walk in there so easily without just immediately being stopped. But I guess people just thought it was part of the whole thing. And they see like the staff of the Wizard in this case in this museum in Greece, and it's the same staff that Billy broke in the previous film after he gave his siblings the power of Shazam as well. I immediately start thinking like, okay, how? I mean, if anything, it should be in some kind of, you know, containment. Maybe it's not like any police custody anymore, but he broke it. It was in the amusement park in Philadelphia. I imagine it should have been confiscated by the police for a while before it is given to some museum in the US somewhere, if not Philadelphia. But it's all the way in Greece, and the curator or whoever was leading the guide mentions how it was found in some mud or something or other akin to that, and they brought it over to Greece. And it's like, okay, how? It was broken in half. It wasn't, you know, Billy didn't dump the thing in a bunch of mud. And like, you remember like in Jumanji with Robin Williams, and they found like the board game stuck in this concrete. They make it seem like they found it like that, and it wasn't dumped in the same way. He just left it on the ground. At the very least, it should have just been confiscated in some kind of like warehouse somewhere, and not in a museum. I found that odd. But they come in, get the staff, and Calypso got a power of chaos, cause people to like freak out and attack everybody and whisper in the air, and they cause this like chaos. Essentially, everybody just attacking people, and then ultimately turn people into stone in the room. And they turns out they got the Wizard in their prison on this kind of like a God Island thing, and it's never fully explained how he. I'm pretty sure they did explain it. I'm just like trying to piece it together. It's been a couple of days. How he survived, maybe because he, you know, what little power he transferred, it, you know, he turned to ash. Like I don't know. It was just like he reconstituted, or they gathered him up and, you know, revived him. You know, whatever. I wish they really like kind of elaborate a little bit more on that, because by and large he was dead. And they got him in this prison, and they forced him to use the Shazam power to fuse that staff back together, because they were, these daughters of Atlas were on a revenge, trying to get back their powers that the wizard and his team stole from their father years ago, because he was, I guess, like some kind of bad guy back in the day that was like on essentially like trying to overthrow, like, humanity and treat them as like slaves and what have you. So him and the other wizards took the power from him and then sealed off this God Island, leaving them trapped. And it was the staff that kept that barrier intact, because Billy broke it in half, released them, and matter of fact, they gave him gave Billy a whole lot of crap for that, which was pretty unjust, given the fact that he's trying to make sure that Savannah at that time, and he stated right then and there, it's like it was all a good idea at the time, and it was a good idea at the time. You don't want this staff that the bad guy in the first movie was using to wreak havoc with the 7 deadly sins. It was a good idea. Breaking in half. He doesn't have his power source anymore. He had no clue about no, trapped gods. Even if he probably did know, it'd probably be best to deal with it later and deal with the situation at hand right then and now. Because, I would have done the same thing. Who wouldn't have? So, oh, and I forgot to mention about the whole Freddie Freeman. I like that actor, but I don't know. There's certain growth that seems stagnant with certain characters. Like the little girl Darla actress, Zachary Levi, and Freddie Freeman, regular Freddie Freeman, all those three remain completely stagnant in a way. And it's like, I don't know, they needed to be seen with some level of at least a year's worth of maturity. There's like a huge difference between like a 2-year gap between where they were in the previous film and up to now. And it's like those three really stood out with like, okay, why are you still behaving the same way as you did last one? He's still like, trying to be popular. And at this point, I mean, yeah, it's high school. Of course, everybody's like, in that phase where they're trying to be like the popular kid. And matter of fact, he's still dealing with those 2 bullies. And the fact that in this day and age, how are you bullies shouldn't be like the same way today as they would have been in like the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Or even, heck, the early 2000s. And it's like, bullies shouldn't be the same way anymore. It should be something akin to like Flash Flash Thompson in the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy. Because he's probably like the more appropriate bully of today. And not these dudes. Because anybody who behaves like that now will be the one being bullied. Because this whole anti-bullying thing has been going on for like a good decade and some change. It's like and on top of that, you picking on a kid with a crutch. What level of a smuck are you to like honestly? Granted, they got like a rich, I think they're brothers. I'm not sure. They got like a rich daddy, because I did like my first Shazam Captain Marvel comic book review last year with these 2 boys that's in the story, and they got like a rich daddy, and it's kind of like behaves like a like Biff from Back to the Future. But it's like the whole school, like the group of kids in that hallway should be like crowding on them and like ragging on them for picking on a guy with a crutch. You'll be crucified, to no end. if you're seen doing that realistically. And it's like they should be. First of all, they shouldn't have been doing that in the first film. But it's like you gotta. They was, grabbing sources from the story that I reviewed on the channel. Which, by the way, check out my review on Captain Marvel the movie and the comic book on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Links are in the description. And let's try to get this video to 100 likes if you're all are so kind, and share this with your friends and who's interested in if DC as a whole or just Captain Marvel, or Zachary Levi. But as I'm saying, it's like it's kind of nonsensical. It's like there was a story on TMZ just a day ago where there's like a video of a couple of guys going to some kind of like a party or something like that at this like kind of bar. It's like a huge thing, some college bar or whatever, and they see this wheelchair at the top of the stairs, and they end up just knocking it down the stairs, not realizing the person who owns that was in the bathroom at the time. And once everybody found this out, those two boys were banned from that place for life. And people just started doing Kickstarters to pay for a new wheelchair for this person. It should play out something akin to that, where you see blatantly. And you got the actor. I really like this because you don't see this very often in like teen movies when you're in high school, where you got this teacher coming in, and it's like he can't do much, but it's like he's just his presence should like cut out the whole bullying right then and there. And I forgot what the actor's name is, but he voiced a lot of characters in the DC cartoons, more specifically Batman from the Brave and the Bold. Crap, what is he? Oh yeah, Diedrich Bader, and who did a lot of voice for cartoons, but more specifically I remember is Batman Brave and the Bold, one of my favorite Batman cartoons. And I really need to because like with the whole Spider-Man stuff that I've been doing, the comic book reviews and TV show reviews and stuff like that, what I need to do, not this year but definitely next year, do like a slew of like Batman TV show reviews mixed in with like a few comics here and there. I did like a few here and there already, like Arkham Asylum's A Serious House on Serious Earth is one of my earliest comic book reviews. It wasn't, I feel like, perfect, but definitely check it out and everything like that. But it was some Batman related content I really need to get into. Like, I did like Batman Noel for Christmas, not last year, the year before, I think. Check that out as well. It's one of my favorite Batman stories. And then I think I did Batman Damned last Halloween, so check that out as well. But there's a few Batman related content I haven't gone through completely yet. I'll probably do that next year. Yeah. Oh, and I want to touch on this. Michael Gray, who portrayed Billy Batson in the 1970s TV series, makes a brief cameo in this, and wearing the whole red and gold t-shirt that you usually see him in on the show. I knew as I saw, I was like, isn't that from the 70s? Because the reason I recall, because he made an appearance in the Archer TV show, because Sterling Archer is a huge fan of the 70s Shazam TV show, as well as like the actor Burt Reynolds. and all his stuff. Those like his two favorite things. And Michael Gray made a cameo in Archer one time, and it was like it was really really funny. But yeah. So the teacher, Dietrich came in as a teacher, and it's like, it's like, hey man, don't worry about it. I had my fair share of being dumped in trash cans when I was your age. Don't let them get to you and stuff like that. It's really cool because like, teachers that don't get enough appreciation like they should, but it's like one of those kind of cool teachers that you love to see them step in, because like I rarely see that in like teen movies or shows where teachers actually not all disgruntled or grizzled or like whatever with their like lack motivation to help out students when they see blatant bullying. And actually step in and like, as like, because teachers are not only educators, but they're supposed to be like the betters that they kids supposed to look up to and the respect and admire. And it's like, if and the fact that like you see that step in, I love it. Anyway, Freddy meets this new girl named Anne, who later we find out to be, because you think initially there's two sisters, but going through the Rocket of Eternity, they find out that there's actually three, because of course Billy and Freddy have a bit of static between each other, because Freddy wants to do his own thing. He wants to like talk to this girl that has an interest in him, and and wants to just do his own superhero solo stuff. And Billy's is kind of like a helicopter parent at this point, where because he's in his own psychological problem where he's trying to keep everybody together, and it's like you're pushing them away by trying to hold them all together, not let them live, because they got lives outside of the family. And I like that kind of dynamic. I really thought that was cool, and it was really kind of a teachable moment where it's like, you gotta let family members live, and it's like they got lives outside of you, and you're bottling them up, and it's not healthy. Athea has the power of like access. It's more like because Hespera has the power of the elements, as I said. Like Callisto has power of chaos. Athea has a power of access, which is kind of like reality bending powers. It's kind of like she's it's kind of like the way like you saw Ancient One with like the mirror dimension and things kind of like flip and twist all over the place. It's kind of like that, which is dope looking. It's probably one of the dopest looking powers I've seen. But as Mary Marvel stated, it's kind of like primordial powers. It's not like something like as basic as like flying or super strength. So the goddesses goes after the Shazam family in order to use the staffs to steal their powers, because they're daughters of Atlas, and part of their powers comes from their father, and they feel like the wizards stole from them, and by extension they stole from them. And I like that. One of my favorite scenes in the film is when like Kellen Murray and Zachary Levi is having a sit down at a table with like Philly sandwiches and everything like that, of course, because it's Philadelphia. And she had a dialogue with him, and of course Helen Mirren is always like a double S star with her, just the level of acting. And it's just like, I just love the way she just gives this line read where it's like, if somebody comes to your house and steal your coin, and I forgot how it goes, but like somebody stole from you, and and they give it away to somebody else, uh, wouldn't you? Would you still be mad? Like, I'm butchering it, but it's just like, essentially, it's like kind of right. You know, the wizards, even though like Alice was behaving like a complete monster, you know, back in the day, but the wizards, by technical, the way she describes it, technically did steal from him and by extension their family, and they're stealing back what belonged to their father. And they trying to, their realm is dying because they got so cut off for so long, and they, you know, ultimately their goal not only to steal back the power, but you know, the wizard also stole this kind of golden apple from the tree of life that they want to plant in their realm to regrow and bring life back. So like, you know, a fight ensues, you know, each one, because they eventually, because they, I'm getting ahead of myself, they kidnapped Freddy, not only stole his powers, but they kidnapped Freddy, put a dome around Philadelphia, and they decide, thanks to the help from this sentient pen named Steve, they send like a magic letter to the goddess to try to like negotiate. Here's the thing that immediately caught on when I watched that part, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, how did this magical paper bird get outside of the dome to go deliver this message? If you say, oh, we went through one of the doors, okay, if you went through one of the doors in order to bypass the dome in order to reach, you know, the goddess's realm, why didn't they just do that to sneak in and find Freddy and take him back home? Because that is a kind of a glaring thing that kind of really stood out to me. Because like, how did you get this paper bird to them? Because whatever access point that magic bird went through, you could have done so too. So they managed to, because thanks to Athea helping the wizard and Freddy escape, Billy saves them, but they come crashing through. I don't know how you, because if you're going through these doors, because as established in the previous film, once you go through the doors, the magic is cut off, so you don't have like the nexus point to get to one area to the other magical area. It's just like a normal door now. So as they all coming back through the goddess realm back to their realm, once the door is closed, then it should be like a regular door. Because they have this kind of dragon thing, and it's like, you know, why don't you shut the door, cut off the access? Now, as they're trying to bypass through that door, it's just like a normal door now. But anyway, this is get to the scene with like revealing who they really are to the parents, and Callisto wants to conquer the Earth realm with the apple, but you know, Hespera and Athea is against that because they wanted the planet in their realm, because that's where it needs to go into their natural soil, not any foreign soil, because they'll be corrupted and like bad. But she's a goddess of chaos, and you know, it doesn't matter to her. So thanks to the dragon, she kind of mortally wounds Hephaestus, and it's like a cool moment where she tried to steal, you know, the powers from Athea to turn her human, and as the being is trying to go at her, she used her, Athea used her powers to like warp her way as far as the way she can, and all these like doors and everything like that. I thought it was like, okay, it has like, you think like, okay, it has some reach or something, and it eventually will probably dissipate. It's kind of like, but I guess it's kind of like light travels in a certain thing, and but it's just like there's gotta be like a, but even though it's like if you got like a pen light thing, like you see like teachers or professors in college or something like that to point to something on the board and everything like that, if you keep pointing it, it's like if you're outside and you point it in like a particular open area, at a certain point either something is blocking it or it just keeps on going. Because if like it's gotta have some reach, like 100 feet or something like that, and it's like if somebody's 100 feet away from where some random person's pointing a light pen at, they're not going to be like blinded or even probably noticing, because there's got to be a certain reach to it. But it's magic, so it still's going and it crashes through the building and it still hits her. And I was like, dang, you could have just like whooped your way to another continent or something like that, because eventually it has to dissipate, right? But or not go in like the exact straight line, because you're probably still in the exact straight line and it just keeps on going to eventually hit you. It's not like Dark Sides of Mega Beans where it just keeps on following you until it hits its mark, or at least a mark. That's how usually Batman typically beats Dark Sides of Mega Beans. He's like redirects the target to something else in order to like keep it from following you. So it's like you could have just whooped your way in like a zigzag line or go all the way to a different continent altogether, and that's not in a straight line anymore until that thing hits like a mountain or something. I don't know. Or at least like a solid metal wall or something. I don't know. But she's human now, and thanks to the wizard's suggestion, because all these little Greek monsters come popping out like a chimera and a cyclops and it starts attacking people, and it gets borderline graphic, in certain spots. And the wizard tells them the only way to wrangle all these monsters is go to the king of monsters, and that would be the unicorns. And I imagine it's kind of like the way he describes the unicorns is like the most dangerous creatures in all the realms, because it's not like what you hear from your storybook fairy tales. And I kind of pictured like, it's kind of like the Grimm fairy tales. It's like, it's got Disney-fied over the years, but if you read like the original story, it gets pretty harsh. So I imagine something like that. And this is where the whole Darla situation kind of like gets kind of grating to me, is the fact that, oh, I'm cute and nice and innocent, so they won't hurt me, and just offering them Skittles because like they like, I forgot the Greek title that the wizard gave it, pretty much just honey or just sugar, I guess. So they offer like this blatant product placement, Skittles. And that's how they wrangle all these unicorns in order to, and I'm terrified of this freaking noise that they make. To not like a, the horse goes neigh, but it's kind of like a more horrific, just like unnerving neigh that you ever heard. And it's this terrifying sound that kind of immediately strikes fear in all these creatures. That's how they wrangle them up. But anyway, there's like a nice moment, again ahead of myself, jumping around a bit, but it's a nice moment between Billy and his mother, because he hasn't called her mom yet, and it's kind of like, I kind of wish it was kind of more so when I was a kid, because like I didn't want to call my stepmom mom, because it's like, it's it's like, yeah, you're help raising me, but it's like you kind of, they kind of forced me to just like kind of just to appease her ego kind of situation instead of just allowing it to come naturally, and that's how you're supposed to do. I wasn't in the right state of mind with all that. Uh, um, but anyway, it's not about me. But I just get the whole understanding. It's like, you know, he reached to the point where it's like he views it as family, which I don't know. He kind of wanted everybody to stick together this whole doggone time. So obviously he should feel them as a family, and therefore by extension view. Well, he has mom issues clearly, so I guess he wasn't there yet to call her mom. He views her as a parent, but he still has to get over the hump with his biological mother and just let that go and see, like, my foster mother is, actually gives a damn about me compared to my biological mother, who just like doesn't want nothing to do with me. So they had this like little moment, and she tells him, like, can you change back? I want to talk to my son. I want to look in my son's own eyes. So he changed back, and they had this little nice moment. And and there's like a moment between Athea and Freddy, where she's like it says, like, well, I'm over 6,000 years old, and she kisses Freddy, and like the father is like, man, this now it feels a little inappropriate. It's like it's like on that level with like Luke and Leia. It's like, now that it's kind of sort of inappropriate, and it's like and there's another moment here that reads on that point, but we'll talk about it once we get to it. But I like because Freddy, you can see like Freddy's like, as he's trying to protect Athea from the dragon who's kind of feeding off fear. Callisto is just baffled by Freddy, because when she tried to use her power against him in order to force him to reveal the real identities of his family, and he's fighting it off, which is kind of baffles her. And it's like, man, you like, how often do you come across strong-willed individuals that will try to fight off your magic? And it happens again where he's fighting maybe just stubbornness, but he's just fighting off the dragon's influence, which it shows like how cool like Freddy is, and like there's more to him. I imagine he could easily be a Green Lantern, the fact that his willpower is that strong. But Billy fights off against the dragon and convinces Hephaestus to shrink the shield to because they planted apple in the baseball park stadium area, and they shrunk it down to localize it to that particular area because it's secluded. And he fights off the dragon because the dome kind of repels his magic lightning, so using the staff to like generate like a big battery to charge it. It's kind of like akin to like Superman using the kryptonite staff to fight against Doomsday. This kind of reminds me of that, where he's using this magic staff to attack this dragon and cause this battery to explode, killing the dragon, Callisto, and Billy in the process. And so they decide to bury Billy in like the god realm, but with the staff broken again, there's no way to like have the family regain their powers or like revitalize the god realm. But then, even though, And like sometimes, the internet can suck, because a few days before this movie came out, it's like it's been on the internet where it's like, oh, Wonder Woman shows up, and it's like, my God, you guys, have to not. Can y'all not? So yeah, it's been like heavily hinted at early on in the film, because like Billy commented how he's had the hots for Wonder Woman. I mean, like, who doesn't? But here comes Gal Gadot, full on, because they didn't want to repeat the whole situation with like Superman in the previous film. We actually get to see Gal Gadot's face, and of course you get that awesome guitar riff, and it's like, God, I love it when every time I hear it, it gets me so amped. And like, and then she comes in and like gives everybody that cool, cute little wink and a smile. Very Christopher, Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve level of Superman, kind of charm to it. And she uses her powers, because she's a goddess, fixes the staff, uses the power to bring life to this realm, and by extension bring Billy back to life. And he's trying to holler at Wonder Woman, and of course she's like, kind of giggles at him, and it's like, you just keep being a hero, Billy Batson. And so now the family's together, the wizards, guys, little swag on, nice little drip with the new outfit, and trying to see the world, the modern day world now, and tells Billy like his superhero name is Shazam. This is kind of duh. And of course there's a mid-credit scene with Harcourt and the big guy from the Peacemaker show showing up to like offer Billy to a membership to the Justice Society, him thinking it's the Justice League, because he wants to be on whatever team that Wonder Woman's on. And he's like, no, she's not on our team. So it's like, he's like, no thanks then. And of course there's like a post-credit scene with Savannah still in prison talking to Mr. Mind, which you would think it would have been this. Well, then again, it's like, would you want the same villain again in the sequel? But maybe because Mr. Mind, you would think, was the bigger, gonna be the next big bad in the next Shazam film, or there's actually a decent amount of rogues gallery in the Shazam lore. But of course, as I mentioned many times during like Black Adam, check out my review on that, because I don't know what's up with The Rock, because obviously they might end up recasting The Rock for Black Adam more than likely, because Black Adam is in that vein of anti-hero, but his main rival is Shazam, and he was talking about how he just want to fight Superman, and it's like, that's cool and all, but not right out the gate, because your first big superhero thing should be against your arch nemesis. It's like, and I talked to friends about this, it's like, having your Blue Beetle movie, but the actor keeps talking about wanting to fight the Joker, and it's not like it can't happen, but not right out the gate. It's like, that's like maybe second, third film after like a good stint in this universe where everybody knows everybody, and like you can then start swapping bad guys and heroes to fight each other. Like you got like a Green Arrow movie, and he's fighting like Count Vertigo, but then maybe in the second film you fighting like Deathstroke, and that's perfectly fine, because like you just establish like a couple of Green Arrow bad guys, and then somehow a different bad guy who normally fights another person comes over into his neck of the woods, and they duke it out. But yeah, I like this movie. It's fine. it's a decent step up from the previous one, but like I said, like the three characters, you know, little girl Darla, Zachary Levi, Billy Batson, and normal Freddie Freeman, those three feel kind of stagnant to me, and I kind of wish I would saw a bit of more growth with them. What else did I say? Oh, and I almost blanked on it. I don't want to forget. The mom had this funny line where it's like, "What's with our sons and older women?" And I thought I got a laugh. That got a big laugh out of me. But yeah, I don't know why. But it's just like, yeah, it's like I don't care. It's like if I get to go out on a date with Wonder Woman, like the epitome of peak woman, like Wonder Woman was obviously far freaking fetch, but still, she's like peak ultimate woman. Wonder Woman is peak woman, and it's like I don't care if she's like I don't know how many like thousands of years old she is. It's like all that is way out the window when it comes to a woman like that. Even with like Supergirl, sure, she aged slowly than your average person because of her Kryptonian heritage, but I was like, I don't really care. It's Supergirl. I was like, I don't care. But yeah, so I'm not gonna knock none of those guys. But anyway, yeah, but it's just also it's hard for me to get invested. Like when Billy died, I'm hard pressed to feel invested or sad. Even though it's played out fine, it's hard to feel invested because I know if they let that happen, all that's gonna be wiped clean, and he'll just be back the next time we make a Shazam film, and it's like the Flash will just wipe the slate clean, and so it's like as Loki would say, none of it matters. But anyway, if you've seen Shazam 2 Fury of the Gods, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it, what you think of the characters, any pros and cons of it, and I'll see you guys in a little bit for my other movie review that I kind of put off for a couple of days, Tick Tick Boom, starring Andrew Garfield. So look forward to that in a few minutes, and I will see you guys later. Take care.